Hey guys, it do be chilly and it do be pound chill. In the last video, as you might be aware, we added the ability here. We've got some UI for adding a new storage area with the sexy dialogue, and we can add items to storage areas. Now, one thing, I mean, next step is obviously we got to do this on the back end, and I'm all about the back end, but I'm sick and tired of this freaking Latin stuff harshing my buzz, you know what I mean? It's very difficult to cross-reference when I got all these long things that I don't know what it means. That's what she said? I don't know. Anyways, so we want better fake data. How do we do? Well, I would do, like PHP, we're using Faker is the library that we're using. And we want, well, for example, I'd like something like a product name. Because that's products are the items, they go in the areas. So at least I'd like a Faker that produces product names. And it seems like a thing that would be existing. It doesn't exist in the base Faker, I checked. But if you look here, Faker provider collection and growing collection of useful providers for Faker. So Faker is a nicely architected library. It has the ability to extend it with new providers that can give you, new things, not just sentence or name, but other stuff. And included in this apparently is, let's see, products. Well, we've got food. That's cool. Food actually seems even freaking better. Science. Everyone loves science. Team. Here's product name, like I was mentioning before. So we got a lot of options in here. So how do we use it? Well, we've got to take our base Faker and then we use this helper and it'll automatically add all the providers to Faker. So that's already nice. We don't have to deal with the Faker and add the providers individually. We've got this helper here. We do it in one step, but we'd have to do this in every one of our Laravel model factories. I don't want to do that. And Laravel has machinery in place for you to inject this stuff at a central level and it'll happen for everything. And we could do that. However, if you read the README, like is always good, it has a ready-made integration for Laravel. And that's just too goddamn good to pass up. So if we do composer require this, it should automatically register a provider for us. And then we should have access to all the goodness. So let's try it out here. Composer require UI. I'm not going to do dev or not dev. It's all the same, really. I don't care. Require. I'm just going to copy this because it is a very long boy. There we go. Let's see if we don't have any conflicts. And it seems to have installed. Beautiful. Creating that optimized auto load file. And we should be all ready to go. Now, because this is going to be stuff that is injected dynamically, I don't think we're going to get IntelliSense for it. No, not unless we work at it somehow. So we'll just have to, we'll have to live without it. It's a relatively small place to not have IntelliSense in. Let me bring up my project. Now, if we go into database, we'll go into item factory here. And, well, let's just test it out. Let's see here. Blah. Product name, yeah, it's not in there. So, I mean, it was kind of what I was expecting, But let's take a look at Faker Sport University Team. Let's see what options we have here. We got product name, which could be good. We have department, promotion code. What I'm going to do, campus course, yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't think I have anything that is directly corresponding to a storage area. Space, no. Species, no. So I'm just going to use company name as a storage area. It's something, it'll be easy to remember. I don't think it's a problem. Now for our item name. So I was thinking we could use product name, but it also does seem to have food things. Ingredient. Spice measurement. It's not exactly what I want. So I believe I will just go with product name for now. So this is going to be product name. And we'll see if this actually works or not. It'll be nice to know. Item instance factory. This is fine. This is just a number. We don't need anything here. Storage area. So this is going to be company. And that seems fine. And users are fine. So with this faker ID wed. No, that's the wrong window. This one. So I'm going to run artisan migrate fresh seed. We'll see if there's an error in the seeder. Okay, so there was no error. That's good. Now, the moment of truth. Do we get something that is a little more easy on the eyes? Let's refresh. All right, so here now we have the names of the companies. Intelligent rubber plate. Oh, wait. So this is the product names. All right, heavy duty wooden lamp. Intelligent cotton shoes. This is beautiful. This is much easier for me to remember than a bunch of random Latin. And then here we have Goyette Limited, Kovacsek, Mills, Beauty. This is better than Latin as well. So this will be helpful for us. Let me commit quickly. All right, let's start adding new endpoints to our database controller stuff. Now, normally you split things up into different controllers. So if I were to add an endpoint to add an item, I'd put that in the item controller and so on and so forth. So I don't feel like doing that right now. I'm just going to jam it all in the same place because that's what I feel like doing today. And I don't see a huge benefit in splitting it all up, especially since we're not going to have that many routes. It'll just be more time for me, switching between files and stuff like that. So I'm actually just going to erase the item controller because we're not using it. I see no reason for it to exist. And I'm going to rename the storage area controller. Let's just call it the Pantrio controller. And this is just going to have all of our CRUD data access stuff. It's going to be good enough. Refactor. And yeah, we'll rename the file as well, if you don't mind me saying. So we got the Pantrio controller. Let's call this retrieve initial state. So a little bit of renaming, refactoring, making things names that line up a little better with what they're actually doing. So retrieve initial state, and in the API here, we're going to rename the route. So what should we call this one? We'll call this one initial state. We'll just get initial state, and that will be routed to retrieve initial state. That's fine. This is going to be good for now. So we'll have to fix the front end again, but just fix it in one place. I should do that in this video. I should centralize the configuration of our axios. I'm going to do that in this video. We'll get a lot accomplished today. So, Pantrio controller, retrieve initial state. That's in here. Okay, let me just quickly commit this. Refactor controller action routes. Good. Now we're going to add a new endpoint to this one. Well, let's just make sure everything's on the up and up here. We're going to do a get initial state. Yeah. 500 on internal error. Storage area controller does not exist. Or it doesn't. This is why it's always good to test things out before you move on. So obviously this is now going to be the Pantrio controller. Okay, what the frick is this now? Okay, well apparently I think the automatic refactoring, it replaced storage area controller in here with Pantrio controller, but that's trying to map to the original path here, which is storage area controller. All right, so that's probably not good. How do we fix it? I actually never had this happen before, but then again, I don't usually use that automatic refactoring. I just rename stuff myself. So composer dump auto. So this should go. All right, now we got it. Perfect. Beautiful. So let me just, we're just going to do a quick amend on that previous commit before we move on. Another endpoint here. So let's do public function add area. That's a good start, right? So how are we going to do this? Well, it's going to be a post. We're going to post data, and then that is going to it's going to execute some database stuff. So we want to get at the stuff that's in the HTTP request. So we type hint this request, and Laravel will inject that into our action here. Now, it's always a good idea to validate stuff on the server side. Even if you're validating on the client side, you don't ever really want to trust the client. It's not a good practice. And Laravel makes it so easy to validate shit. It's like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I validate? So we want to validate. We pass in the request object, and we pass in an array of validation rules. And Laravel has this whole suite of validation rules all built in. So we want to validate. Well, first off, what's the input going to be called? Let's call it area name. So that'll be a post variable. It'll be in the body of the posted request. And we're going to read that and use that to actually create the area. But we don't want to create an area if it already exists in the database. So let's validate it. So the validation rules, there are a bunch of them. You can find them online if you search Laravel validation. What we want is unique. So we want the input area name. It should be unique in the table storage areas, and the column of that table's name. So it should not exist in here, basically, is what we're trying to say. And that's it. So what is this going to do? Well, if it fails, it is going to throw an exception, and then Laravel machinery will catch that and will transform it into very nice JSON formatted error diagnostics, which we could read at our front end if we like, or we could look at in our dev tools or whatever. It's going to be good time. Area is equal to storage area create. I should wire up the Laravel. There are helpers that can give us much better IntelliSense on Laravel things. I might put that in here somewhere. I might even do it on screen, or I might do it off screen. We'll see. But for right now, we don't really need it. So request area name. We can just use this kind of magic accessor to get at the content, the JSON content in the request body. So we call create. That'll return us instance of the created. It'll be populated with the ID, which is important because we want to return, and we'll compact. So this will make it array area. So this creates an array. The key is area, and the value is the name or the value in this variable. It'll return that as a PHP array, which will be formatted into JSON, and everybody's happy. So look at how short is this? We did our validation, we did our database accessing, we did our output to JSON formatting. It's nothing at all. I love it. It's what you love to see. Now we gotta make this available to the outside world. So, route, post. What should we do this? Let's just do, we'll post to areas. And the action is pantry. Yeah, I'll just type it out. Pantry controller add area. All right, so we're gonna post to pantry view areas. And these headers are fine. We want something in the bottom, in the body, not in the bottom, in the body. Okay, so we could do raw input. We could also tell this bad boy, give us the visual editor. Add object property. Property name. Area name. Select type. That is a string. Property value. What do we want for our property value? Pubes. The area is the pubic area. Beautiful. What does that look like with raw input? It looks like this. Seems good. Send. And when we create that, we get a response back, which says, here's the area, name was pubes, and the ID is 5. Now let's go initial state. That's a get. Let's get the initial state, and we should see in the areas here, number 5, pubes. All right, so that's working fine. No sweat. Now let's take a look at the front, and we're gonna need some actions. We're gonna need some stuff. Let me think here. Add. Is there something here that we don't need anymore? I don't think so. Add item to area. Add area. All right. So how do I want to organize this? Add area. Areas.push, new area here. Okay, well, what I think I'm going to do, so let's make one here. We'll call it transfer area. And what this is going to do is it is going to take in an area transfer, data transfer object, and put that into the data structure. So we would like you to take in, we'll just call it XF for transfer, and the type is area transfer. All right. Now we don't need any of this stuff here, but we probably want it in the action. So before I delete it, just allow me to copy this, paste that into here. This is where our action will happen. And okay, so transfer area. Area transfer. None of this was required. All we should do in transfer area is this .areas.push area.hydrate from the transfer object. So we hydrate and we push it into them. Why are you angry at me? Duplicate. Oh yeah, okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't get your tits in a knot. Action. Okay. Add area. Seems like a decent name for the thing. Only data required for this one is the name of the area, which is going to be a string. And yeah, we can make the action return the area that was added. It might be useful in some cases. If not, there's no harm, no foul, right? So we'll make this return the area. All right, so we'll do a little checking on the, well, what's your problem? Yeah. Yeah, okay, fine. Well, we'll do it. We'll get to it. Calm down. Okay. So we'll do a little bit of, checking here. We'll make sure that we're not trying to create an area that has an empty name. We'll make sure that we're not trying to create an area that already exists. And if that is all said and done, oh yeah. I said I was going to fix up the axios, so let's do that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stash these changes, so that'll go back to where it was before, but they'll be there. And let's modify our next config. Axios. So how do I configure Axios centrally? We're going to have to look into that one. So next, Axios module. Options. Export default. Axios. Next config. Yes. Modules. Yes. Axios. So we got to do a thing. Say no thing. Public runtime config. Browser base URL. Private runtime config. So we can slurp our config from the environment, which is nice, but kind of overkill for right now. Let's just hard code it into the config. What do we have? We have base URL. What else do we have? HTTPS, default false. If it's fine, progress. Shows a loading bar while making request, integrating Nuxt.js progress bar. You can also disable default true. So this, I think we actually do have a loading bar. Maybe I'll change that later. Proxy, might not retry. Credentials, this will probably be important a little bit later on. Debug. Interesting, we could set this to true and get some more information. That might be useful. Headers, we could add headers to requests. Fair enough. So there's lots of cool things that we can set here centrally. But really, base URL is going to get her done for us right now. So axios. Maybe like this. Yeah, seems about right. Base URL, as I think the way it was worded. Yes. And it's gonna look something like this. Okay, so what is our URL? Let's just take a quick peek at something that is doing an axios request. We'll go back here. Okay, so HTTP Pantrio view. This should be our base. Now, does our base need the trailing slash or not? That's the question everyone's asking. Doesn't really. Default value of prefix is slash. Customize with API prefix. Port prefix. So I believe we do want the slash in there. We'll not add it automatically. If we're wrong, we'll find out soon enough. So that's sweet. So now with this base URL in here, where is, yeah, okay. So with this in here now, we don't have to type this part every single time. And later on, we can wire this up into the environment so that without having to change the code or anything else, we can have it use one base URL when we're developing locally, and we can have it use a different base URL when we deploy to a staging server or to a production server or whatever, which is going to be great for the future. But for right now, this is fine. We're going to change this base URL. We're going to go into areas. We're going to change this so that it points to the new hotness that is on our API. So the URL is going to now be just initial state. So there we go. We're going to get initial state. This hopefully should work. Let's see if we're getting some. Oh, wait. But remember, we changed the central Nuxt config. So we're going to have to get out of this. And we're going to have to run it again so that it reloads the config. All right, that is compiled. Everything should be locked and or loaded. Let's refresh. And it is definitely grabbing the data from the backend. So everything is working with our new API schema and our new centralized blah blah blahs. Let's put in here fix API and central base URL. Sure. Okay. Now let's pop our changes. There we go. That's what we were working on. Okay. Back to the job at hand. Transfer area. Mutation is good. Add area. Returns area. That's good. That's good. Here. Const area is equal to. All right. So this is a little wee bit awkward in that we don't have an area object, right? We have a transfer object, basically what comes out of the API. But that gets turned into an area object in here. But mutations, they can't really return data. I mean, you can fake it, but it's not clean. So we either give up on the ability to return from our action, or the alternative is we don't take in a transfer, so we hydrate here, and in which case we'll have the item instance. Or the third option is to search for the instance after it has been inserted. So I'm just going to make this thing, I'm going to make this take an area, and then we're just going to push area. I'm not sure exactly how I want to organize things. This might change in the future, but for right now, I guess this is what we're doing. So area is equal to area dot hydrate const data is equal to axios dot post areas. So now for this is a post, we have to give it some data. What is the data going to be? Well, very simple. It is going to be area name is name. There you go. So there is our data. Now we want to hydrate based on data dot area, the output, as area transfer. How's that? You are a little bit angry. Ah, right, it's promise. We gotta await that bad boy. Good. So here's a data. Wait, why are you angry? Ah, you're angry because I did not make this an async function. Okay. Good. Good. We have this. Now we call our mutation. This dot add. So this is no longer going to be using a transfer object. So it should just be add area like that. And in here, add area. We pass it the area and then we return the area. Okay. So here is our action. Why are you still angry? Return type of, right. So this is async function. It returns a promise, which is wrapping an area. We could type hint it, but let's just make it implied for this. Implied is fine. Okay, so it's looking good. Let's tear into index.view. Shouldn't be too much changes around here. Here we go, add area, dialog, execute. So right now we're directly calling the mutation, but that ain't going to be kosher. What do we want to do instead? Area module. So we just want to, yeah, we would like to dispatch this action name. That's good. Good. Let's make this async and let us await this. And that no longer returns void because it's going to return a promise. All right, and I mean, that should be it. Let's try and add an area here. But we do it. See, we had the, do you see that up here? There was a little progress bar and then it got in here. One little neat little thing to notice here. The dialog will only close after the operation has completed. And the reason for that, and it happens too fast, I guess, for you to notice actually. But the reason for that is because of this async. We're awaiting this, and then we're doing add dialog. If I remove this await, what'll happen is even before this operation completes, the promise we will reset. And you should see the dialog disappear before the operation completes. So it's a slightly different app feel, mouth feel of the application. So let's do something like this, add, see, you saw it close and then it got added here. So depending on what you want, you might want to change that, but I'd prefer it to close the dialog after the operation is complete. Also, I don't really want that progress bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here and we'll go axios, progress, false. I believe, yeah, that's this one. So, all right, so I set progress to false. And now if I type something in here, add, you see, we no longer got that little thing that pops up here, which is kind of annoying. That's beautiful. And let me see here. It might be interesting to note what happens if we try to post to areas body here with a name that already exists. We do that, we're going to get 422 unprocessable entity. The data given was valid. The area name has already been taken. So we get this nice return code, meaningful return code with some useful diagnostics. And if we do this on the client side, let's do butts. Nothing will happen, but if we look at the diagnostic tools here, console, yeah, it will log that out as an error. Area name butts. Oh, right. It at the client side, it catches it in the action, so it doesn't even make it to the server, which is again, nice thing to have. But anyways, so that's error handling stuff all done. And you know what? This video has gotten long enough. So when we come back, we will work on more stuff. Oh, I want to change the color of this. I'll do that off screen. But yeah, when we come back, we will work on the ability at the backend to add items and to add instances of items into areas. And yeah, we'll see where that takes us. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Click the like button, and I will see you again for some more Pantrio.